Hello, and welcome to our show today, A Dominican Way. My name is Mayme Puccio, and our wonderful guests today are Officer Louis Feebles, Papa Louis, his beautiful sons that God has given him, Louis Jr., and Joshua. Well, today we're going to explore some new territory. Officer Louis Feebles works in an urban area. He's a police officer in Passaic, New Jersey. He's very dedicated to our dear Lord and spends a lot of time both with his family and with people in need, speaking of protection and also protection under the auspices of the Holy Spirit. So welcome so much.
Thank you. How you doing? God bless you, Sister May.
God bless you, Brother Louis. God bless you, Brother Louis. God bless you, Brother Joshua. Maybe we can start today and tell us, how long have you been a police officer, Brother Louis?
I've been a police officer now for 16 years for the city of Passaic, and I was a Passaic County Sheriff's Officer for 3 years and 7 months. And I also was in the military Navy for 4 years, 4 months.
Oh, so you have seen a lot of action in both careers, I'm sure, and particularly in an urban area. And a lot of the thrust of today's show is in kind of a protecting of people, young people, teenagers today who feel it's extremely cool to go to an urban area and just hang out and see what happens. And Officer Louis, you're going to give us some reasons why this is not a cool thing to do. And let's begin. Have you found young people from the suburbs coming in and trying to experience the ghetto experience and winding up very, very hurt from it?
Yes, quite a few times I've seen young people coming from some of these urban areas, and they'll come in to the city and they want to buy drugs and they want to hang out with some of these kids they don't even know, they never even met.
And what is the danger in that?
Well, the danger might be that if you don't know a person, why are you going to go over there and start just trying to be friends with these people? Because you never know if you're really running into a gang member. You don't know if you're running into a person that might be a rapist or might be just totally a bad person. But then again, you might run into a nice person. But how do you know he's really nice? You got to get to know the people first of all, before you just go ahead and just say, oh, that person looks like a nice person. Evil has no color. So you always got to be guided. And the basic thing me being a Christian, I always say, let God guide you. Let the Holy Spirit guide you at all times. And you can't just go ahead and just go out there and do whatever you feel like it, just because, oh, well, I think this person's nice. I'm sorry, but it doesn't really work that way.
The tables can turn very quickly,
and it could be bad for you. And of course, we don't want anything that to happen to our kids. Like, for example, these are my two sons. Of course not.
Sure.
And I would tell, I would tell people, just listen, just go ahead, and before you do something, always pray first. And after pray, or keep in contact with your parents. Let them know what you're doing. Drugs is not good for you. It just kills you, and then you're putting yourself out of your environment, and you're going to a different environment, and you don't know what you're getting into.
And what would you advise parents who may not be as apprised of their young people's, direction for that night? Are there any techniques or any ways of just saying, let's sit down and let's talk and let's see what are your thoughts and where are you going tonight?
First of all, I do believe that you should have a personal relationship, first of all, with God, to let God guide you to how to instruct your children. Then, second of all, having a relationship with your children. It's not just about being father and son. Knowing your kids. If you don't know your kids, somebody else is going to know them. You don't want somebody else to know them. You got to have a personal relationship. I asked my son, listen, son, what are you doing here? Well, son, Dad, I'm going to go to football practice. After football practice, okay, what time you should be coming home? I like to know who are his friends. I want to meet them. And so it's not like I want to, micromanage. These are my kids that God gave me. And they actually belong to God first. But we have to make sure that our kids are safe. And know your children. Talk to them. Ask them questions. Because if you don't, somebody else is going to show them that love that you're supposed to be showing that love to them. And when you do that, you can lose your children. And you don't want to lose your children to some drugs or a drug dealer, prostitution. And you can't. So in other words, have that personal relationship and ask them, speak to me openly about what you think
Yes,
and
thank
what
you.
they're thinking about.
Yes. Young Lewis, Lewis Jr., can you add something to what your father's saying?
You have to let go and let God, That's why you have to stay close with especially like people like me. I'm a teenager. Life is not easy, especially believing in God. And there is no one in the world like you. And the world is basically against you. And it's one versus a million. And you have to deal with that every day of your life. And it's not easy.
Wow, very well said. Joshua, do you have any experience with God's love in a tight situation or in a difficult situation that you can give us a witness to or testify to?
Yeah, a lot of things in life. Is that most times you have to go through obstacles, and like even though you're going through depression, you still have to trust in God and be there for Him. And He's always there for you. So you have to pray, read the Bible, and don't forget about Him.
That's beautiful. Have you had experiences with your young friends maybe in school or in the neighborhood where you've tried to advise them because you see that their pattern of behavior is really not good?
Yes.
Oh, can you tell us a little bit about that? What would be your direction and, how would you advise them?
I'll tell them to I'll tell them to stop doing what they're doing and to bring them to God and to get them closer to where they are.
Wow, well, you're two very special young men with a very special dad and mom, I know, and another little one at home too. Also, Brother Lewis, you are a school resource person. Tell us what comes through your day in terms of young people, teenagers needing advice, and how do you handle it? And if you have an example that you could share with us.
I see there's kids go through many different peer pressures, and you got to try to guide them, and as you being your parent, you have to guide them. You got to talk to your child and tell them, listen, what's going on in their daily lives. Not last week. It's not just a last week thing. It's a daily. Recently, I know about a case that kids were cutting their forearms, and they were making lines on them. And kind of
literally cutting into their
yes,
flesh, into their
they're
skin.
cutting their flesh,
Yeah.
and these kids were cutting themselves, and what you got to try to do is, and I asked this, child, why are you doing that? Well, everybody else is doing it, and they were putting like initials on it. It was kind of a gothic thing, and emo, and they were, thank you, son, and they were, they were cutting themselves up, and most of the parents didn't even know nothing was going on. So always look at how, if your child starts changing his personality, know that there's something might be going wrong in his life. You can't, if you know that he wears this kind of a striped shirt today, and then the next day he's wearing nothing but dark black, watch him. Talk to him. Ask him what's going on in his life. And if you see a child that's, that if you see that, if you know this child and the child's not doing well, it's changing him, try to talk to him. As a police officer, we try to guide him that, listen, do you really think it's correct for you to be cutting yourself up? And he said, no. And we asked him, why did you do it? And their answer was, well, everybody else is doing it, and my other friends were. So we spoke to a whole bunch of them, and they said, well, I saw this other person doing it. And I said, do you think it's right?